Let's get cozy.
Let's get cozy.
Welcome back to a new episode of That Gym Couple.
Back to the normality of That Gym Couple podcast.
Normal mics, normal setup, normal weather.
Yeah, normal weather. We're not in Marbella anymore, obviously. I mean, if anyone did listen to last week, the what's the word? Like the audio was probably terrible because we did it on handheld mics, but the vibes.
Yeah.
We
loved the little setup.
It was such a cute setup. Even though we did film a really good whole section that Callum then later went back and deleted off of the camera.
I generally don't think that podcast could have
gone any worse.
Fidgeting a bit. Could have gone any worse.
Do you want to get comfy? Get cozy?
No, I'm just really not like, what am I doing? Do leg up?
No,
Both
you don't have your
up.
crotch out. Just like sit with your legs open.
Like
your man's spreading.
Spreading
You can't take up the whole sofa, man.
Sofa, man.
Okay, if you put your leg out, I'll put mine over even.
No,
is that okay?
That's good.
Now you're sat exactly the same way as me.
You'll put your leg over.
Not like that. You're sat exactly the same way as me.
This ain't that kind of show.
You're mirroring me.
I'm like the opposite.
Yeah, but you're doing the exact same. Anyway, we wanted to attempt to do the podcast while we were away. But luckily we didn't take the mics because our luggage was over the baggage allowance, wasn't it?
Well, on the way back. I don't understand how, though.
I don't understand how. All we brought was a couple of things from Zara.
But we got rid of, we lost weight in terms of luggage stuff while we were there because we both used supplements up.
But then also remember on the way out, it was a different weighing. It was those handheld scales. And then on the way back, it was on their cart thing.
Suspicious.
Sus.
Yeah. I reckon we were under by a kilogram. And he was like, you're actually over by 1.5 kilograms.
Maybe you just packed it differently.
We took the
cameras out.
That's it.
Because we went with a lot of things. Obviously, we were there for 10 days, but we had our laptops, our cameras, chargers, toiletries. We had everything with us, really.
It's just really annoying when it's all in your backpack and you want to go through security.
Yeah, you have to get it all out.
Twice I forgot something.
Yeah. So we had every intention to take the proper podcast mics, but yeah, we just didn't, basically.
Yeah.
There's only one. Well,
it would have been the mics, but without the stands, so we would have just been holding them anyway.
Yeah. It was a shame, though, because I feel like last week was a good episode. So if you can stand the audio being a bit crap, do go and listen to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are home now. We're missing it, aren't we?
As I've been saying to everyone, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, would you move out there?" And I don't think I want to live out there permanently, or for maybe just even the summer, because I feel like it was lovely. It's quite expensive.
It's quite, I don't want to, materialistic.
Yeah, it's very materialistic. I think
it's all about the way you look, and
I think that's how most people would see it, though.
Yeah, and that's no disrespect to anyone that lives there. It's an amazing place. Yeah. But I think because we went in February, it wasn't peak time.
Quiet.
Yeah, it was quiet. But you saw a few people like that. But everyone's kind of like, I think we said last week when we arrived in our trackies right off of the plane.
Yeah.
Bit we've been up since 3 a.m. We were a bit smelly. I had no makeup on, and we walked into this place to have brunch, and everyone was tanned and all dressed up, and people were just looking at us, and we just felt very judged.
To be fair, it was a Sunday afternoon, so you do understand why people would have looked like that.
I think we got into the Marbella life, didn't we?
We were fine, yeah.
It's very everyone's in gym stuff all the time. If you're surrounded by that sort of thing, it's great for remote working.
Definitely enjoyed it. Would I go back? Maybe, but I'd like to visit other places.
I don't know if I'd go for a summer holiday just for a holiday necessarily.
No. I can see how it would be a lot of fun if you wanted a sort of party holiday.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of cool looking venues and stuff, obviously all closed while we were there.
No, but then also, even though it was February, a lot of places did still have really cool things on. We love live music. Yeah. Most places had live music or a DJ.
That's true.
Which for February is technically kind of out of season. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of people.
That's the point now. I don't think there's much of a season now.
Well, I guess a lot of people have second homes, don't they?
Exactly, and I think that's part of what's happening now in a lot of Spain and Portugal and places like that.
Yeah, Portugal's the same.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
If we were going to go do that again, where would you want to go for, let's say, tops 2 weeks?
God, I don't know. I can't really say Greece because I don't know about the gyms there. Dubai? But I don't really want to go to Dubai. I don't know. I have mixed feelings with Dubai. I think it would be really good for what we want, as in great gyms.
See, I was speaking to someone today, and they were like, do you know what? From what we explained, Marbella was like, they were like, it's like that, but worse, like more.
Yeah.
And they were not worse necessarily. Like, it depends what your thing is. I've never been interested in going to Dubai.
I haven't really either.
And do you know how when we went to some of the gyms in Marbella, and we were like, do you know what? It's just it's plastered all over social media as this like really fancy place, and it's really cool, and it was, but it was dirty. It was like untidy, and it wasn't
that bad. Marbella?
No, not Marbella. The gyms I'm talking about. Not all of them. One in particular.
You're being harsh.
No, one in particular was really not tidy. It was dirty. I'm not going to name it because. Yeah. Well, yeah. And what's the really famous gym that everyone trains at everyone goes to in Dubai?
Banus? I don't even know how
to say it. That's where we were. Yeah, that
begins
one.
With a B.
That one. They were saying that that's like the same. Like it's not very well kept. Like people just don't respect it, and because they don't respect it, because they got this whole like attitude of like, oh, whatever. Like
I think like a lot of these places have become a hub for online coaches, influencers, and that's why they're getting a lot of attention at the moment. But I don't think necessarily that's why we would want to go.
No,
exactly. We kind of, it's actually putting us
I'd rather
off.
I'd rather go to somewhere else. Where like I'm not interested in like going to this really materialistic place where there's loads of like people driving around in really fancy cars and they've got their
it's all about
fancy
money.
Watches on, and I would rather go somewhere that's a little bit different. Lisbon's really like popping up as this remote working place, which is.
But I've got my answer.
Yeah.
The US, somewhere in America.
2 weeks.
Okay. Maybe for longer, maybe like 3 weeks.
If you had like a 3 weeks to like...
I would say LA, but LA is very, in my personal opinion, don't come at me. I've been to LA and that's exactly that. You see it on the movies, you see it on people's stories and Instagrams and it looks amazing. It's actually not that great.
Yeah.
I would probably I'd go back to San Diego or maybe like Texas. You want to go to Texas?
Yeah, like there's a few places I like to go in the States. Because there's just some cool gyms.
Houston in Texas.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I knew that.
There's some cool gyms and stuff, and the you know, I think for remote working there'll be some really cool places to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Bali's another one. Bali would be cool. Australia, like the further you go, the longer you want to go for.
Exactly, and the reason we didn't go further was because we were like, well, we can't really go for longer at this point. Yeah. And if we do go further, like if we were going to go to Australia or the States, we'd probably want to coincide it with some travelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we could still work around our work, but we would need longer to do it.
And
because you don't want to go all that way.
A little bit more planning and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, we were it was a spontaneous thing. Yeah, exactly. Wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. Anyway, enough about that.
Yeah.
How have you been settling back into everything? God, I'd say we've both been struggling, but I think you've been struggling a little bit more because I think there's you're in a little bit of like someone just smacked the mic.
Sorry.
There's a little bit of a sort of you're not sure what you're doing with your training, which is kind of playing on your mind a little bit, like what your next step is. You've been cutting.
No, I haven't.
No, you've been
Incorrect.
bulking. She's been bulking. And it's your birthday next week.
Yay. Let's not say how old I am.
Oh, God. I had this conversation with my mum yesterday. I spoke to her on the phone. And I was like, oh, Lucy thinks she's really old. You're not at all.
Old. I bet you felt old when you turned 27.
No. 27. Come on. Hashtag grow up.
Oh, shut up. Anyway, yeah, I know where you're going with this, but let me interject on that point. I honestly do think I probably suffer a little bit with seasonal affective disorder.
I think we both have massively this year.
Like I think this year's been my worst year.
Do you know what I don't think's helped this year? I think because the two, like, we've both had a really good summer last year.
Well, because we met.
Yeah. Well, we met spring last year. And we met.
Well, we started dating in April.
We met autumn the year before.
Oh yeah, I know. But like we were like properly dating in summer.
So in the summer it was like real honeymoon period for us, and like.
And I was going through a lot of change in my life then as well, so it was a lot going on.
Generally, we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of things, and
and then it was our first Christmas together.
Yeah, so we had a real like good run at things last year. So this year, like
not so much
during the winter now, it's been a bit.
I guess it's just because all that stuff that was going on, as you say, over summer, meeting each other's families, going on our first holiday together, having Christmas together. It's all kind of just like very normal now. Yeah. Which I'm not taking that for granted. Normal is great, but normal can become a little bit boring. Not our relationship, but just
you get
life.
into routines though, don't you?
Yeah, like really
little
mundane
things. Like every Sunday we do the same things, just because that was how most people do live their lives that way.
Yeah, food shop,
clean, sort yourself out, but before you know it, you're then just like doing everything to get yourself ready for Monday,
and it doesn't feel like the weekend anymore.
No, so you get like one day on a weekend, and it's not that enjoyable.
And I obviously do work alone as well. I don't have any colleagues or anything. So I work from home. We spend a lot of time at my apartment. And then I'm on my own most of the day until I go out to the gym. And, this isn't me saying, oh, poor Lucy, poor Lucy. I'm very grateful for my life and for what I get to do.
Yeah.
But it can be quite isolating. And when it's dark and it's pouring with rain and it's cold and you're on your own all day, it gets quite dark. Like before we went to Marbella, I was crying like every day, and I just didn't know why. And I have felt quite down since we've been back, but I am really trying to just tune into any positivity that I've got. Like today, the sun came out, and it actually was a beautiful day.
I met you when we were off to go to the train today, and you were just miserable.
I know.
You were sat.
I was
in the
happy
car
this morning. When I woke up this morning, I was actually all right. And then I was on my own all day,
beating you down, and I mean, you're right. You're right now.
Well, because the gym, that just proved the gym really is my therapy. Really does. Like and after that session, I felt, people, like I thrive off of being around people, and I'd been on my own all day, and then I saw you at like 2:30, had a gym session, was around people, had good chats with people in the gym. Suddenly I'm feeling good again. Like, I know I need to be around people. And I think Marbella as well. I was with you every day. We were working together 24/7. The whole day. Then we trained together. It was so nice to have that company. Yeah. And the sun shining really helped as well. So
the sun was a big factor, I think.
Yeah.
But so you are.
I feel like I've been really miserable the whole time we've done this, like every week on this podcast. So I am really sorry, everyone. Wait till summer. I'll be the most positive person you've ever met.
I was saying, so you're. At the moment, you're kind of in that sort of like, what are you doing in terms of your training, dieting? You're not sure if you're gonna cut now or wait. I think we kind of said like wait till after your birthday, or maybe until you don't need long because
I guess even then that's the scary thing. You say, oh, you don't need long to start cutting. Yeah. My main thing if I didn't have my sister's wedding this year, I probably would carry on with the bulk until maybe like June or July. Yeah. Because I'm not that bothered. Obviously, when we have holidays coming up and things like that, I'm going to want to cut and feel really good in a bikini and on holiday. But I'm really committed to the bulk now, and I've started to see some growth.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
I don't want to stop.
That always becomes a bit of an issue because you're like, oh, it's working.
Yeah, finally.
I don't want to stop doing this. So,
but then also I want to give myself enough time that I'm not massively under pressure.
But then sometimes I find that cutting under pressure is actually a bit better.
Yeah, true. You kind of can get a bit complacent if you leave it too long.
When you've got that sort of, like, okay, I've got to stick to my calories because if I don't, I am going to suffer. But like,
look, I've not got loads to lose.
Yeah.
But if I were to go into my bridesmaid dress tomorrow, I wouldn't feel 100% comfortable. And it's my sister's big day. Like, I want to feel really, really good on that day. But as I said, I am finally starting to see my glutes growing. I'm starting to notice. I keep catching myself in the mirror, and I'm like, this must be a really good light. And then I'm like, no, maybe they have actually grown. Is it the lighting? Is it the shorts? I'm like, no, actually, I have added like 3 or 4 centimeters to my glutes. So thanks to you, sir.
Hey, you're the one putting the work in.
Yeah, you gave me the program, though.
I just programmed you. Hey, booty grower.
Did you have some selfish
hey, I that's not how I work.
Goals driving you.
So it's interesting because obviously touching on that subject, we had a few of you ask us to sort of elaborate on what we touched on the end of last week. Not last week, last podcast episode, which was about...
Can't even remember what it was about.
It was a bunch of questions, I think.
Oh, we did more like a Q&A, didn't we? Yeah.
So, yeah, it was something about whether...
Muscles make you manly.
Muscles make you manly... In regards to females and males.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I guess a good way to put it is having a muscular physique masculine?
Yeah, and does it make you less feminine? But I want to look at it from both sides because I think they're very different things. So let's start with looking at it from the female perspective, because I get clients all the time. It is, if I had £1 for every time someone said that, you know, I'd like to build a bit of muscle, but I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to look manly. Yeah,
and like I get that all the time at work. And honestly, if it was that easy, we would all be huge.
Yeah, you've said that a few times.
Yeah.
And it's very, very true. But it's down to the individual, isn't it? It's how you feel. Like, my goal is to be more muscly. Like, but there's a line for me. Like, I don't want to get to a point where I've got so much muscle, not because I think it looks manly on certain women. It's just not the physique that I'm necessarily looking for. But then some women wouldn't even want the muscle that I have. I think so it's preference, isn't it?
It's also genetics, because some women are broader, or their delts are more developed, or
carry
the muscles carry less fat.
Yeah.
They've got, you know, the abs are more visible.
Maybe higher testosterone levels.
There's so many different things that it could be that cause different changes in the way people look. And in terms of muscle mass, yes, like from an extreme, I can understand how people can get...
That's probably who they're comparing it to,
maybe.
Yeah,
exactly.
When they think of muscle, they just think of the most muscly person, the most muscly woman they've ever seen. And they think, oh, if I start lifting weights, is that what I'm going to look like?
Yeah.
And as you say, it's not that easy.
They are the top, you know, in their top.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they are people who have, you know, they've gone through, they've done a photo shoot, they've got their pictures, and they've recycling the pictures all year round.
Yeah.
It's not how they look 24/7. And good lighting, like a good tan, some decent photo editing can do all the difference to make pictures and videos come out and look different. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing when it comes to it is the context and how they've got to that point. It's not that easy. It's not that straightforward. It takes a long time, and usually it's only for a day. But
also, if it's not for a day, if it's all year round and that is just how they like to look, that's up to them.
Yeah.
And it's also up to you if that's not how you want to look. Like, we can all strive for different goals. It doesn't mean that if you start lifting weights, you're going to look this specific way. Like, you can go down any route you want with your physique and your goals, to a degree, obviously. But yeah, you're not going to necessarily look like that person if that's not what you want to look like. And trust me, I'm trying really, really hard to build more muscle, and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't think it makes you look manly. Again, it's down to your personal preference. If you look in the mirror and don't like muscles on your physique, that's fine. Like, that's absolutely down to you. But I think it's interesting how we've seen this kind of movement with the fitness industry and I've kind of lived it, to be honest. Like, when I first started my fitness journey, it was because I wanted to get leaner. I wanted to be slimmer. You were exercising to become the smallest version of yourself.
But usually what happens in that case is you get leaner, and then you go, I look quite small. I'd rather have like muscles that show, or I'd rather like this area. I'd like it to be more developed, or, you know, I'd want my shoulders to be a little bit.
Yeah, but that's only come for me Like if I think back to when I first started getting into the gym,
of course, yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about building muscle. Well, obviously I didn't have much knowledge, but if you think about young girls who get into the gym, maybe not so much now, as I say, I think it's changing that girls are getting into the gym to feel strong, to build muscle, to feel empowered. But when I first started, it was to be skinny. I wanted skinny legs, the thigh gap. You know, all the girls wanted to. I used to stand in the mirror and put my legs together to see if I had a thigh gap, because that was the thing that all girls wanted. Now, all I want is to build muscle.
Yeah.
To feel strong and have. Again, it's my personal preference, but I would like to be more muscly, and
you want to be able to show that off.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just mad how it started that way, and now it's kind of something completely different. And I wonder how men have kind of taken to that.
In what regards?
That kind of shift in women now trying to be the strongest version of themselves and get muscly. Like, you personally find it really attractive.
I think from my perspective, it's more about because I know it's the dedication, it's the drive to do something for yourself, as opposed to sort of the look. Yeah, but
I think you would say you find it physically attractive, muscles on a woman, right?
Yes.
Like when I tense my arms, you're like, I like a girl with bigger shoulders. Not necessarily big shoulders.
Yeah. Like,
is it like a level of respect?
I like someone who looks like they train, definitely. I wouldn't want to. But then again, I think that comes from that sort of.
Well, it's a mutual thing that you have in common,
exactly,
isn't it?
Yeah.
But I find it attractive on a male, and it's an interesting thought, that isn't it? Do I find you attractive? Obviously, for many reasons, but do I find muscles attractive on a man because of the muscles itself, or because that indicates that he trains and looks after himself?
That's what I mean. It's hard, isn't it?
But that doesn't necessarily indicate that either. Someone could be not very muscly and still take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And train.
Yeah, but not digging out all you runners out there, but runners don't typically look like they've got a lot of muscle mass.
Yeah, a little bit leaner.
Because they are leaner. They've got to be leaner, because you don't want to, me running, I'm like 105 kg, 106 kg at the moment. Like that's heavy. Like it's hard to run. You take a lot of impact on your knees and your joints and stuff like that. So if you are a runner, you want to be leaner, so you're not going to try and have that much muscle mass on you, because it's counterproductive to what your goals are. But yeah, you could still find someone attractive in that regard.
Of course you could. Again, I guess that's personal preference, isn't it? Like if you prefer a man to be leaner or more muscly, like, I don't know, it's personal preference. But what about, do muscles make men more manly then? What makes a man manly?
This is
what does manly even mean? I guess there's so many ways we can
this
discuss
this is a very, I guess, very relevant conversations we have in these days.
Yeah.
What is manly? What is masculine? What is and I think a lot of men out there are probably feeling quite sort of out of the loop in themselves, and they're not really sure. I guess it is like with training in a gym, being a guy, there is that sort of ego aspect of it. You're always going to have that. You're always going to have some guys who are like, it fuels their ego, being big, being muscly. Having said that, we've met some guys who are, I'm thinking of one in particular, who sort of owns one of our local gyms, who is a Arnold.
You may as well say the name now.
James. Yeah, it's true. He came fifth in the Arnolds this weekend.
Owns a gym round us. Yeah. I think you can guess.
James Hollingshead. He is. I mean, he's an absolute specimen of a man. He's incredible. Ginormous. He's tall. He's just covered in muscles. They're popping out of him like Pez from a Pez dispenser. I don't know. Like he's massive, but he carries himself very well. You know, when we had those conversations we've had with him when we've been in the gym, and he's just been
really nice guy.
He doesn't. It's not like an ego thing where he's walking around chatting about himself and being like, "Yeah, well, I do this because."
He was
just like, "I'm in my lane, you're in your lane."
Yeah,
like we're not like. But I guess that's the difference, isn't it? He's right at the top of his game.
Yeah.
We're not even in the same the same road. Like, let alone lane.
But there didn't feel like there was any judgment for that. It was almost just like he had respect for us for
just being there,
loving training,
just being there. Yeah,
and he wasn't like looking around the gym. He was just focused on what he was doing,
and he was enjoying the thing that he does and he loves.
Yeah,
and having that conversation with others who feel the same way, but just in a different capacity. And I think that was quite like, you know, you see it all the time.
Can you
really.
stop fidgeting?
Sorry, I'm just not very comfortable. You see it all the time, and he was just one example of how, I guess, having a lot of muscle. But I don't know. I guess that didn't really answer the question at all. Like, I don't know what I was waffling on
didn't
about.
Actually, it was still an interesting.
I guess my point was that he is someone that you'd deem as being very, very manly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Based on looks, like he's got a beard, bald head, like big muscles.
But why? Like, why is that? Because maybe evolutionary, you know, from an evolutionary standpoint, would that have protected us? Is that what makes it manly? That a man can protect us if we're in danger? They can
possibly. I think maybe it's a few things though. Like, I mean, I'm not a short guy. I'm 6'2". Like, I'm not super tall. I'm pretty tall, I guess. Like,
I don't know what the average is for a man. Less
like
than that,
5'11",
probably.
maybe, I think. Something like that. I don't know. Varies per country, I guess. 6'2". So, you know, I'm taller than most of my friends and most of my peers and stuff. But when someone who was taller than me,
sorry, I just can't stop smiling.
When someone who's taller than me is, you know, when I'm chatting to them, like, they don't even have to necessarily be a big guy, but like, it can be quite intimidating to me.
Really?
Just because they're taller. Like, and it puts me on edge, but I don't know if that's just, I don't think that's necessarily, I'm seeing them as more manly than I am. Because it's, even if I've got like more
I think you're seeing it as a threat. I don't even think you'd admit this, but I think subconsciously it must come from a place of like, is this person a threat?
It's unnerving a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, being taller than 6'2" is.
But I think that's because I'm used to being one of the taller ones, and then when someone's taller than me, I'm like, oh, right.
Who do you know that you have to look up to like that?
Oh, there's a couple of people I know.
A couple of tall rugby players. Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. I guess it's what your definition of manly is.
Exactly. Inherently, do muscles make you manly? No, they don't. Because I think, you know, I've met some really manly people who aren't muscly, and I've met some really manly people who.
But manly how?
No, I don't know. Just the way they hold themselves, their demeanor, their presence, their authority. There's a lot of things that I guess could make you manly, or make you masculine. Things that we deem as being masculine. That's
the key thing, though. I think it is. I think what we deem as masculine and as manly will vary massively from person to person.
Of course. But also, it's not to say that those things can't also make you feminine. And I think that's the weird way of looking at it. Like, there's no way that we can say, oh, that guy over there is really manly because he's got such good authority. But it's the way that I guess the way we're tuned to sort of believe things, or were at least from a young age, that where a man has got authority, a woman tends to be bossy.
Yeah, that's so true.
And that's not the case at all. Like, it's not the case at all. You look at like...
Yeah, next time you call me bossy, I'm going to say, actually, I'm authoritative.
Sorry, I came across very bossy, Lucy.
You call me bossy all the time.
You call yourself
bossy. Do you know what it is?
Bossy?
I'm not bossy. I just know how I like things or what I want. And I'm sorry if I come across in an authoritative way when explaining what I want.
Right.
Sorry, back on track.
So...
But that's so true.
Yeah, so, you know, why can't, you know, women this day and age more than any can be just as manly in terms of their traits that they portray.
Yeah.
As most men. So when we're talking about physical, I think it's funny, isn't it? Because I've never had any of the comments that say a woman might get if she posts up a picture of her training, where, you know, some guy might be like, "Oh, I don't like the muscles" or something like that. Like, obviously, I've never been on the receiving end of that. But what I have seen is, I've seen people go into a gym, and I mentioned this before on the podcast. In a restaurant, some girls who sat there saw this guy walk in, and he was a big bodybuilder, had lots of muscles, and they were like, "Oh, he's too muscly, too muscly." So I guess there comes a point where maybe that was preference, or maybe that they thought that, I don't know.
I think it's probably preference, but yeah, I've had people comment before, like, you're trying to show off how much muscle you've built, because it's a tough thing to do. As we always say, building muscle, especially as a female, is really difficult. So when you want to show off that progress that you've made from going from very lean to having built some muscle, and you post that on social media, and some guy thinks he has the, you know, I mean, everyone can comment, it's a free country, but like, they think that they can just comment and say preferred the one before, because they don't like a muscles on a girl, and that's fine. But you, on the other hand, would be like, that's absolutely amazing. Look how amazing you look.
But like, it's so weird, isn't it, that I would never get that from a girl.
No, of course you wouldn't. But then also, I think what I wanted to just touch on, what you were obviously saying about women can possess, you know, let's say quote unquote masculine traits. It's also interesting to flip that in that these masculine men who are really muscly, broad shoulders, you know, from a physical standpoint, they can protect us, and they're strong and brave and, you know, courageous, all these things that we want our men to be.
Yeah.
But guess what? I also want my man to be able to cry. I want him to be vulnerable.
And
I want him to open up.
I think that's kind of where I was heading when I was talking about James. Like, although he is a massive man,
bearing in mind we don't know him personally.
No, like, I've spoken to him a couple of times. But, he's a big guy, and he holds himself very masculine. The way he came over to us and spoke to us, he came across as very caring, very considerate, which are quote unquote feminine traits that you'd expect from a more feminine person. But I think that's the point, isn't it? When it comes to someone who's dedicated and cares about what they've got passion, they can come across a number of different ways. Yeah,
but I guess, like, the point is, you could be like James or whoever, you could be the muscliest man in the room, you could be the biggest man in the room or whatever, but like, I'm pretty sure most people don't just want a man because they're brave and strong and muscly. Like, we want to be able to have, we want you to be caring. Like, women are, you know, inherently caring and more emotional. Like, men are, I think, unfortunately, men have grown up trying to be this brave, strong person that doesn't cry and doesn't, you know, talking about emotions makes you weak or whatever. And I hope that we are entering into a stage more where that's not the case, and men know that you don't have to be like that all the time. You don't have to be strong all the time. Yeah. You might look strong and be the strongest guy in the room, but you can talk about your emotions.
I think that's almost more, you know, looking like, you know, and being the strongest guy in the room, and also being emotionally intelligent enough to know that that's not all there is to life.
Yeah,
is such an important trait to have. And I think that a lot of people miss that when they start training. They don't understand that that's not, I say people, guys, they don't understand that that's necessarily not all there is to it. There's a lot more to it than just being big and strong. It's how you carry yourself, how you present yourself, how you are around other people.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. And you know, you see it all the time in gyms where there are guys who are big and strong, they've been there for a long time, and they go and help other people who don't really know what they're doing. And I think that's always very endearing to see. It's always nice to see that, because you know that someone's really passionate about what they've achieved, and they want to help others achieve those things too.
Yeah. Sorry, I completely agree. I was just I made notes on this podcast that I wanted to bring up, and just wanted to remind myself. Oh, one thing I was going to say was, I can't remember if we mentioned it in a couple of podcasts ago, and sorry if we did, but obviously just, again, picking up on that point of women being muscly and that making manly, and, you know, we know couples where the women are so strong, so muscly, and I'm like, wow, you're amazing, and their boyfriend's right there next to them pushing them on and clearly thinks they're amazing. But then you do have the people who comment on my post saying, oh, that looks gross, why are you so manly, why would girls want to look like that, why would you want to be big and muscly? And like, where's that coming from? Is that coming from a place of maybe they just genuinely do believe that women shouldn't be manly, women should look more feminine and childbearing?
I think it comes from a place of self-hatred, to be honest.
Those comments, yeah, of course.
I don't, it's very hard to say with the internet because people hide behind the screen, and a lot of them wouldn't have the balls to say this sort of thing in person, and not that they necessarily even inherently believe it, but it's almost a way of just trolling people just for the sake of it. And I think that's part of the issue in itself. I don't know. Maybe I think it is mostly from a place of self-loathing, really. Yeah. I think
maybe they can't believe that a woman would have more muscle than that.
Maybe they can't get women themselves. Maybe they, maybe they've been hurt by someone before who reminds them of, or maybe they think like, oh yeah, this will get a few likes and make someone else is going to find this funny, or I don't know. Like I guess again it comes down to preference, but stay in your lane. Who gives a shit?
Like whatever someone wants to do to their body and how they want their physique to look is not really anyone else's business. I mean, I know we put it all out on social media, so we're opening ourselves up to comments and opinions, but like, does it matter if the girl wants to grow her shoulders and be strong and empowered? Like, no, let her do her and you do you, whatever that might be.
In the same way, you don't like muscles on women. I don't like people who are ignorant and full of shit. Yeah.
Well, I'll remember that comment and I'll post that back next time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that matter. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think it was like quite a short podcast this week, actually.
Yeah.
We haven't really had. Obviously, we had a week off last week, so it's been.
We haven't really done many. Admittedly, it's our bad, but we haven't engaged that much on our That Gym Couple podcast Instagram. So we haven't had many kind of gym stories or questions from you guys, but obviously if you do have any, please send them over and we will put them in next week's episode.
So yeah, thank you for tuning in to another episode of That Gym Couple podcast. Please go and follow us on social medias, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere that you can sort of find us now,
even if you are listening, which we are so grateful for.
Yeah.
If you are listening and you do enjoy it, just hitting that follow or subscribe or like button really does help us. So
absolutely. And
just because you're listening, it doesn't mean that it...
As we say every single time, we are going to record an episode every single week. Well, as much as we can, as long as people are still listening.
Nah, even if no one listens, I think we'll still do it.
Yeah, probably.
We enjoy it. That's why we do it.
But we know that someone's always going to be listening.
Hopefully.
Because my mum's always going to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Tracy.
Every week.
Our top cheerleader.
I always get like notes and feedback from her each week, so it's nice.
Yeah. Hopefully she thinks we're improving.
Yeah. But yeah, so please drop us a follow, drop us a like, send us some love, and share with your friends and family.
Someone you think might enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Bye.